You know, Bob, mortgage rates have been a hot topic in the news lately, but a lot of folks don't realize that it's more than just the Federal Reserve that dictates what rates do on a mortgage level.
Right. And you know what, Rick? Let's talk about that.
Hello and welcome to this episode of What's Their MO. I'm Rick Masnick.
And I'm Bob Orlando, and today we want to talk about the current rate environment and how it affects today's current mortgage rates.
Yeah. You know, first it's important to know that the Federal Reserve is the governing body that dictates what rates do, whether it's up or down. And the Fed, what they really do is they're not moving mortgage rates, they're moving the Fed funds rate. And the Fed funds rate is what banks use as an interest rate to loan each other money, mostly overnight, but sometimes over the course of a few days. And it just happens to be that when any movement happens with the Fed funds rate, things like your home equity loan, your savings account rates, they move at the same pace and same direction.
Right. And a lot of what's making the mortgage rates move is what's really going on in today's economy. You know, the Feds are doing what they're trying to do. They're trying to keep inflation down. And, it seems to be working, as far as with rates go. But a lot of economic news, there's always revisions. So, for instance, the jobs reports over the last 5 out of 6 jobs reports, they've been revised down. And even prior to that, the last 10 out of 14 jobs reports, they've been revised down as well. So we're seeing some changes and effects there. But still, the unemployment rate is still at a 3-year high as of right now.
And there's more than just the Fed funds rate that dictates what happens with mortgage rates. There's a whole list of things. You got consumer confidence, consumer price index, producer price index. I know it's a lot of weird terminology for some who don't follow the markets, but retail sales is another big one. So it's not just what the Fed does that dictates what mortgage rates are doing.
Right. And now for your current homeowners, anybody, with a first, second mortgage, you're getting a lot of calls right now from your current lender. May not be the original person you started with, but it's who is servicing your loan now. So what you want to do, you want to be very careful and clear when you're talking to them that you're getting the best, the best possible deal. And really, so you don't want to fall into their traps and accept any shiny objects. You always want to talk to your original loan officer who's going to give you the best thing. But anyway, so recently, Rick, you had a call that really talks about the same thing where they were offered, let's say, shiny objects to entice them to refinance.
Yeah, I'm happy to say that I sent out an email blast to all my past customers about the opportunity for a refinance on the horizon. And one of those customers that I spoke to had just been contacted by their current servicer, like you were talking about. Yeah. And like Bob just said, current servicer means that it's not necessarily the mortgage company you closed with initially. The loan's been transferred, which is what we do. We don't sell the loan, we transfer the loan to another servicer, and they're just collecting the payments for us. So they were contacted by their current servicer, and we won't mention what their name is. But they were being offered 5.99% as an interest rate, which sounds great on the surface, but that's the shiny object that was being dangled in front of them. But the cost to close that loan was going to be over $30,000. Now, these folks have a large balance. Their balance happens to be $660,000, but that 5.99% rate was going to mean that they needed a loan of $692,200. So it was over $30,000 to close that loan. That's not a good deal.
Right. And anytime you refinance, at least, what Rick and I do, we try to calculate the numbers so that if there are fees for closing costs, that these fees are going to regroup themselves, say, within 24 months or 2 years. And that makes sense so that we're not financing too much into the mortgage amount for you. The clients that Rick were just talking about is their payoff or their break-even point, if you want to call it that, was actually going to be out over 4 years, which is a very long time, and a lot can happen in 4 years. Interest rates could come down. You may even be looking at refinancing again. So you don't want to finance too much into your note, at least initially. But the best thing to do, like we mentioned earlier, is contact your original loan officer that helped you out with the purchase or previous purchases, and we'll make sure that things are done correctly and in the best interest of you.
Yeah, and I say this humbly, that's exactly what those borrowers said on the Zoom call I had with them. They reached out to me because they trusted me with their mortgage the first time, so they came back to me again. And I took the time to go over the numbers, explain to them what you just did about the difference between recapturing the cost in 24 months versus the 4 years, and how that just was a horrible offer that they were receiving from the other company.
consider. Always keep that in the back of your mind. And by the way, the current drop in interest rates and employment data that's coming out, means that, what, rates could be coming down or will be coming down, which means more inventory on the market. So there's going to be more options for purchases. So what you want to do if you're thinking about purchasing, you want to be prepared. You might as well get the paperwork done now, get your pre-approval done with, say, Rick or myself, and just have it all done, and then you'll be ready to go.
Yeah. So if you found this information useful or helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. If you know someone else that this information could benefit, please share this video with them. But for now, that concludes this episode of What's Their MO. I'm Rick Masnick.
And I'm Bob Orlando, and we'll see you next time.